Welcome to the Daily DLP. I'm your host, Ash Thompson, and today we go on an epic journey around the division. This week, the Packers have a bye and the Bears played the Vikings. It's going to be a real short trip. The big news for the Bears is that Justin Fields is hurt. And I've said this about running quarterbacks for a while. The last thing you want to do as an NFL franchise is increase the amount of punishment that your quarterback takes. They were already down Khalil Herbert, and they gave up 2 sacks on their first drive because at this point there's no reason to respect their running game outside of Fields himself without Herbert there. So if you make Fields the only target, you're going to be pretty successful as a defense along that line. There was a lot of garbage coming out of Chicago about not needing Caleb Williams because Fields had finally turned the corner. But the most important ability is availability. And we don't know at this point how much time Fields is going to miss. Like, the defense they were facing has not been good at all this season. And they made the Bears defense, or the Bears offense, somebody look like a D3 school pulled up to Tuscaloosa. The Bears just kept letting Fields get hit. They were under pressure, whether their opponent rushed for 4 or rushed 6. They can't handle stunts. They can't pick up blitzes. They don't seem to fundamentally understand that their number one goal as an offense should be to treat Justin Fields like he's 2021 Jared Goff. Make all of this as easy as you can. Block up everything, and whatever else happens, happens. Because he can pick apart coverages when he gets protection. He's shown that. He's at his most dangerous as a runner when it's not called, and he just squeaks out of the pocket against man coverage. It shouldn't be this hard, but they keep making it this hard. And without Fields, they just don't have an offense. And as almost always happens to these running quarterbacks, like, Fields didn't get hurt at the end of a long run. He got hurt in the pocket when his left tackle got undressed by a spin move inside. And instead of taking that hit, he made an escape, lengthened the play, and took a worse hit from the guy who ran around the double team on the other edge that the tackle just couldn't handle. And DJ Moore was wide open on that same play, but he was Fields' third read. And the broadcast crew was making a huge deal about Fields not throwing it with anticipation to his third read, when his left tackle just immediately got flat out beat inside. And third read was, for some reason, a faster developing pattern than his first read. Like, this offense still needs to be lit on fire. There's nothing good here. And the defense, well, it started just as well. Began the game with a neutral zone infraction on the first play. The low score here, though, is not entirely because both offenses were misfiring all day, though they were. The Bears had some legitimate bright spots in this game. TJ Edwards is rapidly becoming like a legitimate force on their defense. He's like the Alex Anzalone in 2021. You know, like the one guy who's out there just screaming as the tsunami comes, if that makes sense. He's in the right spot. Not a lot of other people are in this defense. I was added a sack from his off-ball linebacker spot and led the team in tackles. He's also pretty good in coverage. Jaquan Brisker was all over the place as well. He was coming off the edge from nickel, dropping as a free safety, doing his best impression of CJ Gardner-Johnson all day long, and looking pretty good, if I'm going to be honest. Like, Jack Sanborn is another solid player, and he's in his second year out of Wisconsin after getting drafted in the 3rd round. Like, he's been consistently their second best linebacker. And it really makes you wonder why they felt the need to go out and spend $24.5 million average annual value that they did on 2 guys to basically make it so that Sanborn can't get on the field regularly. Like, this is the kind of thing I've been talking about with Chicago's mismanagement of players since before the season even started. It truly is the opposite of what the Lions are doing in terms of player development. Chicago had a third-round pick, and there are 2 possible spots for that player to play, and they signed expensive free agent deals to fill those 2 spots. Both of those deals last until the end of Sanborn's rookie deal. It's just mismanagement of everything. And Tremaine Edmonds, the bulk of that money, isn't playing well. Like, he's going to keep getting on the field because they're locked into him for multiple years. But it's not like there's a night and day difference between those 2 players. There certainly isn't an $18 million salary difference between those 2 players. Like, you're basically paying almost an extra $18 million for a guy with a PFF grade less than 5 points higher. That's not great. Last year, they also did things like, well, basically, they addressed the linebackers rather than something like, say, getting Justin Fields more receivers. And this was a team that desperately needed, like, league average starting receivers, not superstars. They didn't need to go and spend $19 million a year. But if they brought in everybody who signed for somewhere between 7 and 12, that would have been money well spent. But last year, they brought in Keneal Harry, Amon-Ra St. Brown's brother, Equanimous. And then when that thing that had no chance of working obviously didn't work, they brought in Chase Claypool, who I talk about probably once a week as like the poster boy for everything that could possibly be wrong. This year they brought in DJ Moore, but they focused elsewhere on free agency in the draft, and it's the fundamental design of the offense that's just destroying them. Like, and if Fields is out for a significant period, everyone on this staff is getting fired. Everyone. Because they cannot win games without him. It is not possible. Like, it's just a thumb dislocation, not the worst possible injury. But if he can't grip the ball to be able to throw it properly, they can't put him on the field. But they might, because they know they have absolutely no hope of winning games without him. But that would be to Fields' detriment, short and long term, and you would hope that the GM and doctors would step in and stop that, but bear's gonna bear, so who knows? Let's look at the Vikings side of this shindig for a second here, too. It's their second win of the year. Skull. And it would be really easy to get excited about that. The score was close, but the Vikings were the better team all day. They just weren't putting the ball in the end zone. Like, the game-winning TD was scored with a strip sack on a rookie who was activated for his first game this week. The Vikings offense didn't score an offensive touchdown against the Chicago Bears defense. Like, they didn't score a single point in this game after 6:44 in the third quarter against the Bears defense. Alexander Mattison got 2.4 yards per carry, and I've been saying all year he's not good, but that's really, really bad. Cam Akers got 2 consecutive touches in the third quarter. Nothing before, nothing after. He's a better player. There is absolutely no doubt about that. TJ Hawkinson was their leading receiver, and if you're a Lions fan, you know that means your offense sucks. He led them in both catches with 6 and yards with 50. 50. But part of the reason the Bears struggled the way they did on offense was a legitimately great game by the Vikings D. I do have to give credit where credit is due. That was the one unit on the field that actually played well in this game. The thing that was least painful to look at closely. They gave up a TD drive after Fields went out, which is weird, but it's having a temporary boost when your new and very different style of quarterback comes in is actually pretty common because, I mean, the Vikings would have spent 0 seconds prepping for the Chicago Bears as a team that had a quarterback with a quick release, smooth footwork, and is unreasonably confident throwing intermediate routes. But then the kid threw an arm punt and the Vikings defense iced the game. Brian Flores coached a heck of a week here, which is not unexpected in any way, shape, or form, and the Vikings defense scored as many touchdowns as they allowed on the day. And you're never going to lose a game when that's the case. Overall, someone analyzing their team neutrally, I would be very concerned about how awful the offense was without Justin Jefferson. As a Lions fan, this is great. Of course, you're going to have a drop-off when you lose a guy who's in the conversation for best receiver in the league. But you have to be able to do something other than 5 to 10 yard outs to the tight end. And I mean, I can't draw sweeping conclusions from one game against a divisional opponent, but this offense minus Justin Jefferson looked like trash. The Vikings only had one receiver who went over 10 yards per reception on the day, and they only managed to get him the ball 4 times. KJ Osborne can't carry your offense. I'm sorry, Mr. and Mrs. Osborne, but your son isn't that good. And after watching the Vikings against the Bears, I don't think Kirk Cousins can either anymore. The Bears offense was awful, but they still managed more first downs, better third down efficiency, and a 35 to 25 time of possession differential relative to the Vikings. They also outscored the Vikings offense 13 to 12. This was the first week that the Vikings won the turnover differential, and that was the difference in this game. The Vikings only turned it over once, but that's not from a lack of attempts to do so by Cousins. He was trying desperately to make that number higher pretty much the whole game, and the Bears just refused to take the ball. So, the Lions stand on top of the NFC North with a record of 5-1, and to use MLB numbers, they have a 2.5 game lead on the Packers, 3 game lead on the Vikings, and a 4 game lead on the Bears. Their magic numbers for the division are now 10 for the Packers, 9 for the Vikings, and 8 for the Bears. And for those who don't follow baseball at all and never have, the magic number is the combined wins from us and losses from them that is required for the Lions to clinch the division. So, if the Lions win 5 more games and the Packers lose 5 more games, the Lions are guaranteed to finish ahead of the Packers at the end of the year. Then the Packers would not have enough games left to make up the difference in win total. The magic number is 10. Like that could happen in the next 5 games. I think the Packers might hold up their end. 2.5 game lead means you're up by 3 wins, but the other team has 1 more game to play, and that'll all balance itself out over the bye weeks. Tomorrow, I'll take a look at the All-22 the Lions game versus the Bucks and discuss some of the deeper stats that come out later in the week and go over a few of the finer points in the Lions victory over the Buccaneers. So, see you then.